This is Steven Crowder. If you're unfamiliar, he has a YouTube channel with somewhere around 3.5 million subbies. He's a radical right political commentator. And as a far right commentator, naturally, he has some things to say about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. This is part 3. If you haven't seen the other 2, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's missing. But in the other 2, Steven Crowder decided to address Kanye West, also known as Ye, and the controversy he created by screaming about Jews. He decided to move on from that subject about halfway through his episode and talk about something slightly less controversial, but trust me, his takes don't get any more informed or intelligent than they were before. Let's see how he turned himself into the victim of this situation, as he does with just about every other one. Let's get into it. Okay, let's hear about Elon Musk.
Elon Musk now has control over Twitter. You look at the list of billionaires, there's one exception here as far as their, I wouldn't even say political affiliation, but I guess their way of viewing the world. It's dogmatic for everyone else, and the top 1.1, the top 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, I don't know, I'm not necessarily a math guy. Now there's Kanye. No one here is. We really should have one math person here now that I think.
Yeah,
The
probably.
best of the best.
Yeah, we actually, we don't have one math guy in society. We have an elite group of math guys who all get together and talk about this regularly. Usually they can be found at universities. They're called research professors. I know this is a new concept to Steven Crowder here. I know this is not something that this isn't information he comes across very often, but yeah.
And Elon Musk is an exception. So what do we have now? We have this administration, this White House, targeting Elon Musk, calling to action all of the other powerful billionaire tech oligarchs to silence him. And this comes on the heels of some news regarding Apple and what they are doing with Elon. But here is Jean-Pierre being asked about Elon.
Talking about, God, I forget her name. Jean-Pierre is her last name, but she's the press secretary for the White House, I believe, is what she is. That's who they're talking about here.
Elon Musk and Twitter. And I saw this last night. It is chilling if you understand what is being said.
There's a researcher at Stanford who says that this is a critical moment, really, in terms of ensuring that Twitter does not become a vector for misinformation. I mean, are you concerned about Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that? And what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
So look, this is something that we're certainly keeping.
Okay, the question is, Twitter, it could very easily become a vector of disinformation. There's a difference between misinformation and disinformation. The difference fundamentally is disinformation is intentionally spread to misinform people, usually by like rogue governments like Russia. They set out on campaigns to twist things around, lie about it, twist it out of proportion, that kind of thing. Misinformation is somebody mistakenly spreading information they thought was real but is not. People are worried about disinformation spreading on Twitter. That is Russia, China, other governments coming in and intentionally spreading lies on the platform and making them go viral by creating like hundreds of thousands of spam accounts or bot accounts and stuff like that. Manipulating the algorithm, which, old Twitter was dealing with, but Musk seems not too interested in dealing with. So anyway, that's what they're referring to. Rogue governments coming in and intentionally spreading lies to manipulate the U.S. political system.
Keeping an eye on, and
Let me step back.
Tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
so look, this is something that we're certainly keeping an eye on, and look, we have always been very clear. And that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing,
there's the broad term.
They take
Hate.
action, that they continue to
Define
take
it.
action. Again, we're all keeping a close eye on this. We're all
I hate that.
monitoring what's currently occurring, and we see it with our own own eyes of what
monitoring,
you all are reporting,
spying.
just for ourselves, what's happening on Twitter. But again, social media companies have a responsibility to prevent their platforms from being used by any user to incite violence, especially violence directed at individual communities.
There's the switch.
And the president has been very clear on calling that out. He'll continue to do that.
There is a real problem on social media with inspiring hate, and not just like spreading hate, but inspiring hate attacks or inspiring like mass attacks and stuff like that. It's a huge problem on social media, and it's one that Facebook has at least addressed a little bit. Even if they don't take it terribly seriously, Facebook has historically addressed a lot of these problems. Russian disinformation campaigns they've tried to deal with, things like that. Musk doesn't seem to have any interest in, stopping hate movements or stopping like disinformation or anything like that, seems to me. And that's kind of disturbing to me, that he doesn't seem to care what happens on Twitter. He doesn't care if it's being used nefariously by rogue governments. He doesn't care if people are inspiring, domestic terrorism or organizing domestic terrorist movements on his platform or any of that stuff. That's disturbing stuff.
And we're going to continue to monitor the situation.
Hey, government plays an important role. Tell me about Section 230.
Yeah.
Tell me about the protections afforded to these companies, as though they are a public utility.
Yeah, so Section 230, if this is deep lore from like years ago, Donald Trump was still on Twitter, and he was upset that Twitter was like removing some of his tweets or taking away their virality or whatever by removing the ability to retweet them. So Trump was looking for a way to like get back at Twitter for trying to regulate their system a little bit. And his solution was to attack Section 230. He wanted to repeal Section 230 of the law. Now, Section 230, if you're unfamiliar, is basically a part of the law that offers protections for like these companies. If Section 230 was repealed, it means that Twitter is now responsible for everything posted on their platform, and they can be held legally liable for anything that takes place on that platform, thus forcing Twitter to add even more moderation. So Trump is mad that Twitter is moderating his tweets, and in retaliation, he attempts to force them to moderate everybody's tweets or face legal consequences. That doesn't help anybody. I don't know why Trump would ever try to attack Section 230. It blows me away that was his plan. But it's obvious just revenge. Nothing more, nothing less. But that's neither here nor there. That's what Steven Crowder is referring to here when he talks about Section 230.
So if they are protected from liability as opposed to a publisher, they want it both ways. And she uses this broad term, misinformation. Who determines misinformation? Then hate, and then circles that into...
No, misinformation is not as gray of an area as they want it to seem. And neither is hate. Anything that is said to disparage somebody based on some intrinsic quality about them, it seems to me that's pretty obviously hate. Especially on social media. If something is like spreading virally and it is incorrect or it's a misinterpretation or a misunderstanding of something or whatever else, it's misinformation. Simple as that. They really want this to be a gray area so that they can say, well, it shouldn't be moderated at all because it's too gray. Everybody draws the line somewhere. There is a line. Everybody has a line somewhere. But he wants to pretend the line is just too gray to moderate. Sorry. That's just not how it works.
To inciting violence. And I just heard someone on CNN yesterday use this lazy argument. Well, freedom of speech. You're never actually free to say what you want. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Who got this shitty talking point?
Yeah, this is actually basically what I said. Everybody has a line. It depends on where your line is. Everybody can claim to be a free speech absolutist. They're not, actually. Nobody is a full unadulterated free speech absolutist. Everybody has a line. It's just I draw my line in a different place than you. You pretend it's a completely gray area, but you have lines that you draw despite claiming that it's a gray area. It's not entirely gray.
I run into it all the time. You can yell fire in a crowded theater if there's a fire. It's not the speech that's outlawed. It's if you're lying and you create a stampede and there's no fire.
Yeah, that's the point. Is he really not getting the point here? He just made the point for us. Are you kidding me?
We're allowed to yell. Also, there's the idea of private property. If you're in someone's house, of course you have to acquiesce to their rules. If you're in someone's Cineplex, it's the laziest argument that they can possibly make.
God. No, like he seems to be claiming that it's a lazy argument, but not debunking it. Is he going to debunk it, or is he just going to continue to say it's lazy?
Just like right here, they say, misinformation, hate, and therefore equate it with violence. Violence is not legal.
Exactly.
Hate is. It might be disgusting. But it is legal. Let's pay.
That's correct. It is legal. But like he said a minute ago, you have the right to regulate what goes on inside of your house. And that is fundamentally the argument being used for Twitter regulating what they want to regulate, or Facebook or any other group out there. They are allowed to regulate anything they want. This seems to be Steven Crowder's strategy. Get really ambiguous and confusing and ramble for 10 minutes and claim that the other side doesn't know what they're talking about, but never actually debunk anything that's said.
Pay attention to this specific portion of her answer. I want to read it again.
Well, that she is reading, though, really bothers me.
Yes.
Because that means the whole thing was set up for her to let everybody
You've always been
know
bothered by
you're being
literacy.
watched.
Wait, you think these questions are not prepared in advance? I'm not even kidding. By the way, they submit their questions.
Oh, I
The
know
press
they're
submits their
prepared in
questions.
advance,
Yes.
but it's just she makes it
Well, some of them are, but they're perfectly free to ask anything they want.
We have always been very clear, and that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing, that they take action, that they continue to take action. Okay, I'd love to see your comments below.
Yeah, this is the position of the Biden administration. This does not mean that they're enforcing their beliefs or their free speech or whatever other thing on this organization. It has nothing to do with them forcing anybody to do anything. Obviously, their position is we should cut down on mis and disinformation. Does this surprise anybody at all?
Question. Yeah, who decides what is misinformation?
Yeah.
Who decides what is hate? For a while, it was the CDC. It was the WHO, which is ironic because the WHO determined what would be classified as misinformation while they were actively hating Taiwan by denying.
Dude, what? What is he even talking about right now? This doesn't make any sense. I have no idea what he's referring to.
Its existence.
Well, the WHO said that the CDC was spreading misinformation at one point because they disagreed.
And by the way, they were both probably right.
Yes. Can we just...
I have no idea what he's talking about. Like, it sounds like something that they picked up in the weird conservative bubble that they live in 24/7 and just ran with it, didn't need evidence for it or any of that stuff. They just start screaming it like it's a fact. That seems to be their way, that their strategy to spread the ideas that they have, but it's just nonsense, a lot of it.
Sit for a minute in awe of that sentence, her quote?
Which one?
That was written down for her.
It was written down, and she screwed it up that bad. When we come to it comes, and we, and I think he, and we will continue to, it's just like, can we get somebody,
I know, Trump was so articulate. Everybody understood every word the guy ever said. So it's very jarring to go from somebody who is so articulate as Donald Trump was to somebody who kind of stumbles over words from time to time. Absolutely.
Job is to speak.
Why you got to be racist?
I'm not racist.
Well, it's not
I'm not
even
sexist,
that
racist,
incognito,
anti-Semite,
though.
nothing. I'm just saying, be able to speak.
Yes.
Please. You're the spokesperson.
Okay, so it's not so much that she's a female or that she's black, it's that she's an idiot.
No, he is most definitely racist. For this, I don't know about, not for that specifically, but he is actually racist, yeah.
Nailed it.
Good. Okay, I think we're on the same page.
You judge people on the individual qualities.
Right, and I particularly have a disdain for idiots, black and yellow, red and white. They're all morons in our sight.
Right.
Okay. So, by the way, thanks to the October report by The Intercept, we also know that the DHS, the FBI, are actively colluding with big tech. Remember a long time ago, it was Jen Psaki saying, we hope that Spotify, and then insert, you know how they wanted to censor Rogan here. We now know beyond any shadow of a doubt that they're colluding with big tech. This is the thing. At one point in time, the government...
Okay, I have to push back on that. I don't know what he's talking about here, but I do not trust his assessment of this. Let me just step back. Did he say Spotify? I think he did.
And Psaki saying, we hope that Spotify, and then insert, you know how they wanted to censor Rogan here. We now know beyond any shadow of a doubt that they're colluding with big tech. This is the thing. At one point in time, the government determined winners and losers, and it was the enforcing arm was big business, sort of in the Industrial Revolution. That's where power was consolidated as we sort of transformed from a largely agriculturally based society. We now have a flip where really it is a few businesses that control 90% of your life, and the enforcing arm is the government. They are doing the bidding for these big tech platforms. Those are the organizations that wield more power than any government on earth. And
okay, I don't know about that. And maybe so. Maybe big tech platforms wield more power than any government on earth. I mean, they don't control their own currency, for one thing. They don't have a military that they can force people to this or that or whatever else. I don't know. It just feels a little bit flimsy, but okay.
Our government is in their pocket. Hit the like button if you have a problem with this, because while we're
our government is in the pocket of like Twitter and or Facebook. No, that's completely inaccurate. Our politicians have positions that they hold about how these platforms should operate. And sometimes these platforms, follow the suggestions or work with the governments to try to make sure that like Russian disinformation farms are not succeeding in what they want to do. But that's about as far as it goes.
Talking about this right now, the algorithms want to tell you that we are dead on YouTube. Here's something else. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, how can he possibly sit here and with a serious face and unironically say big tech is in the pocket of the government and is controlled by liberals and all of that other garbage from his 3.5 million subby YouTube channel? He's saying this from a YouTube channel like this. It's just ridiculous. How can he unironically say this stuff with a straight face?
According to that report, actually, I think, we have an overlay. The Microsoft executive, Matt Masterson, texted Jen Easterly, the DHS director, platforms have got to get comfortable with government. It's really interesting how hesitant they remain. Hey, hold on a second.
Right, who the hell is this guy, and why should I care about his opinion?
This is a fundamental worldview difference.
Yeah.
I believe that what are supposed to be open platforms should be as uncomfortable as humanly fucking possible with government to begin with. Those are just the ABCs of me. Why would we start from the point of they should be comfortable? What good has come with starting off comfortable and trusting of government?
Well, that's the viewpoint.
Okay, I don't know about trusting of government, but they should most definitely be working with the U.S. government and maybe even the EU to ensure that rogue governments or enemy nations are not taking advantage of the population. They should absolutely be doing that. I get that you're not happy about them being involved with government or whatever else, but that's just how it is. That's necessary to make sure that enemy nations are not taking advantage of the United States.
The shock,
certainly not this country.
Yeah, exactly. The shock that these guys have that I can't believe they won't just trust us. I'm just like, have you read any of the news? Do you see anything in the last year of why we wouldn't trust the government to do what's right in every situation?
The U.S. government did what they could to curb deaths in COVID, but these people that we're listening to right now are absolutely convinced that the U.S. government was lying because it had some underlying motive, who knows what it would be, to get more people killed or to make them suffer. So I don't even know what the claims are. It's just absolutely absurd, all of it. The government did not, habitually lie about COVID or COVID deaths or whatever other thing like they're trying to claim here.
Right.
We're going to get to a little bit more of it with the railroads and pushing that beyond the election.
There is nobody who's gotten a shot that's deeply concerned right now.
None.
No.
Whatsoever.
I haven't talked to them personally where they're like, uh-oh.
No, I've had 4 shots, and no, I'm not concerned at all. But people like this guy, like Steven Crowder and his weird little group of friends, are absolutely convinced, or at the very least were absolutely convinced that the shots were going to, like, kill everybody. Everyone was going to be dead by the end of the year or something like that. This is from 2021. A dad tried to bribe his daughter not to get vaccinated.
I don't want money, though. Like,
I know you don't, but I don't know what else to do.
you didn't do this to Michael and Kelsey. They already got it.
Don't you think I know that? Don't you think I know that? Why do you think I'm fucking crazy? Your mother got it. Why do you think I'm fucking crazy? My family is gone. My family is gone. By the end of this flu season, most of you will be dead. What the fuck do you expect me to be?
Okay.
That's sad right there. That's straight up sad. And you know who produced that mindset? These guys right here. They convinced a mass amount of people that they were going to be dead by the end of 2021 if they got vaccinated. I mean, I have a billion examples of people like this, or Sherry Tenpenny, or a number of others, claiming that people would be dead by the end of the year if they got vaccinated. Or another one, Sherry Tenpenny straight up claimed that you would have full-blown immune-suppressed AIDS if you were over 30 and you got a vaccine. By the end of 2022, you would have full-blown immune-suppressed AIDS from it. It's just straight-up lies, all of it. They lied. This is disinformation that is being spread right now. Of course, it didn't play out the way that they expected it to, the way they claimed that it would. And here we sit, end of 2022. None of their bullshit came to pass. And how are they reacting to that? How do they respond to it? They continue to claim that it just did happen. Lots of people died. No, they didn't. None of the shit that they said came true. But they continue to say, oh, the government lied. Everybody lied. The CDC lied. The WHO lied. Everybody lied. About what? I'm still here. I'm vaccinated 4 times. I'm perfectly fine. I'm alive. And you know who isn't? Herman Cain. Lots and lots and lots of other anti-vax people who absolutely refuse to listen to the government, convinced the government's out to get them. They're dead. I'm not. How about that?
Are we back to the MLK Malcolm X?
Yes, I don't know which one I'm more like.
Yes, I don't know. I'm like Gandhi.
I almost
Yes.
yeah.
If Gandhi was thick.
Almost.
Yeah.
No hunger strike for me. Gandhi, that was a bitch move. Did a lot of good.
I feel
Getting
like the
skinny as
guy
a
who
rail-
set himself on fire in Tiananmen Square. I don't know why, I just do.
Yeah, well, you know what? Look, we're all on fire for something.
Or
So
flammable.
Oh, I just feel like going to hell.
Oh, jeez.
I feel like I'm in hell right now.
Me too.
So here's the thing.
These people are insufferable and ridiculous.
The administration right now, and by the way, their cronies, of course, in big tech, they are terrified, as it relates to Elon Musk, of one person they cannot control. They have been so in control of the narrative for so long, completely unfettered, that the mere notion of Elon Musk allowing people from both the left and the right, we're not talking about Elon Musk removing people from the left. In other words, you have all these other platforms.
No, actually, that's interesting he brings that up. Elon Musk did remove people on the left. He's been talking to far-right extremists like Andy Ngo, and he most definitely did remove a bunch of people on the left, supposed Antifa accounts and stuff like that. Not only is he reinstating far-right extremists, he is also banning people on the left. Now, I have personally stopped using Twitter except for like DMs, and I check it every now and then and like messages and stuff. So I'm basically out of Twitter now for the most part. But yeah, I fully expect that I will probably be banned at some point anyways, because my name is on a list of quote unquote Antifa accounts. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That the left is allowed and people on the right are throttled or they are banned. We've experienced this directly. You can go back and watch, I don't know, pick a week, any week, whether we're banned from Facebook that week, used to be Twitter, certainly YouTube. We know this. All Elon Musk is saying is allow both sides.
No, he's not. He's banning the left right now
To have a seat at the table. So what happens? You just heard that from the White House. You just heard that from Jean-Pierre. I thought Jean-Pierre was on CNN out of the corner of my eye, but it's not. It's just a guy on
soccer players.
Yeah.
Soccer players.
It's just the corner of my eye.
Yeah, that's deeply racist. He's joking about how all black people look alike. And when called on something like that, he'll say, oh, it's just a corner of my eye. That's just how biology works. You don't believe in biology? Yeah, he's just a racist piece of garbage, in my opinion.
My eye. It's not that everyone with the hair looks. It's just that I saw that and I said, oh, Jean-Pierre's speaking right now. No, it turns out it's a gay soccer.
So he was, his out of the corner of his eye was adept enough to tell that it was CNN, but not enough to tell the difference between, black people, a black man and a black woman.
Okay. So.
So yes?
Yes.
The first straight soccer
Dude is just racist. Why doesn't he just come out and say that he's racist?
player. Wow.
The White House can't control Elon themselves. They're not powerful enough. But other companies are. That's the dog whistle. So Elon Musk tweeted this out. I have no
Okay, he doesn't know what a dog whistle is.
reason to not believe him. Apple apparently is considering removing Twitter from the App Store.
Okay, well, Apple didn't say that, so I don't think we have any reason to believe that that's the case until Apple says something about it.
That's also important to note. He also, by the way, Musk retweeted a post by the blockchain publisher Library that claimed Apple censored its material. Something else, let's be really clear about this. We don't know if this is entirely true. We're hearing this from Elon Musk. We do know that Apple has pulled advertising from Twitter. That part can be confirmed.
Pulled some advertising from Twitter, like 90%, not according to Elon Musk. Again, this is all according to Musk.
I don't know if they're threatening to pull him from the Apple Store. I haven't heard anything from Tim Cook yet. But you have to go with the information that is available. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Apple, their history. In 2021, Apple, along with Google, completely banned Parler from its App Store.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Do you remember when Parler was the next big thing?
Yeah.
All Apple has to do is make that threat. Earlier on with Uber, they did the same thing. Now, Uber was doing some stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, but they threatened to remove them from the Apple Store. That will get CEOs fired. That will get boards motivated to change in the company, or it will get people's companies to crumble to the ground because they depend on the App Store to be in the public.
And we'll get to the numbers. The numbers are shocking.
They are.
Oh my God, dude. Elon Musk posted a bunch of memes about going to war with Apple and stuff. If he goes to war with Apple, he is straight up f***ed. He is not going to win that war. He's going to fail miserably, and I am so here for it. Apple does not need Twitter. Twitter needs Apple desperately. So I'll be interested to see what happens.
The advertisers.
You need the advertisers, and you need to be
eyeballs.
available on the App Store.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you don't just give somebody a U2 album.
Right. Well, it's not so much give.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, Apple released a phone one time, like a few years ago, and it automatically came with a U2 album, and it was so frustrating. Like, nobody wanted this stupid U2 album on their phone. So, and they made it so that, like, you couldn't even remove the U2 album. It was so annoying. So people, like, Apple had to, like, write in some code that gave people the ability to, like, get rid of this U2 album from their phone. It was funny. Anyway, yeah, really, really annoying.
As thrusted upon
Well, that's what
them.
I mean. They forced it on us. Is for them to take
They did. Absolutely, they did. It was really frustrating.
Twitter away. It makes no sense.
Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? I open up my phone, and it's Bob. Hello, and it's like, hey, what are you doing? It's just gay.
Yeah.
What? I have never had that happen to me before. What an odd joke to tell. I don't understand.
It's
something
That's not the Edge, is it? No, it's a snuff film.
Apple still hasn't answered for that yet.
No.
Oh, okay. He's joking that he would rather be caught with, like, gay porn than a U2 album on his phone. Okay.
No, they still haven't answered. For
And
that
now
yet.
you're out there making threats?
Yeah,
Nah.
come on now.
You still owe us one.
That's just like that is the modern equivalent to a dirty bomb.
It is.
That's how you destroy civilizations from within.
I would have rather done sex stuff.
Yep. Well, you did it anyway, but
I
the
know,
two are
but-
unrelated.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So 2021, they banned Parler from the App Store. Okay. Then you also have to take
Dude, I am so confused by these people. Like, everything that they're saying is just confusing nonsense.
into account that, hey, all right, they banned them because of hate speech, right? They're against hate. They're against extremists. Well, okay, that would hold water if Apple didn't also do the bidding of communist dictatorships, of authoritarian regimes. Here you have.
Okay, so Apple generally, by and large, wants to be viewed as acceptable and upstanding and accepting of other people. They don't necessarily need you to speak highly of the trans community, but they don't want you to denigrate the trans community. That's like kind of their strategy or their bit. And that the reason for that, the reason that Apple operates that way, is because they lose money every time somebody that they're working with attacks somebody, uses hate speech or whatever other thing. So they would prefer to not work with companies that spread hate speech, and that totally makes sense. They're a private company. They're perfectly free to do whatever they want with their company. They don't have to take contracts from people if they don't want to take contracts from people. That's fair. But here we are with Steven Crowder coming up with excuses for why Apple is evil for not working with companies who spread hate speech and the like. That's not very free speech of him, is it?
Recently, in October 2022, Apple disabled the automatic AirDrop function on iPhones in China. It's an automatic right now. If you have an iPhone, go. You can AirDrop.
Yeah.
It's built in. They had to proactively disable it in order to align themselves with the communist Chinese government.
Yes.
I have no idea what he's talking about. Not only have I not verified that this is true, but I don't know how this would have any effect on the communist dictatorship anyways. How would this work to Xi Jinping's benefit? I don't understand.
Apple hates the Chinese people and loves the CCP.
Right. And some people.
No, they love money. That's what it's really all about. They love money. It has nothing to do with them loving the Chinese Communist Party.
People right now are posting that as though that happened in relation to these protests. No, it was a guy holding a sign up basically calling for the removal of the president, Xi Jinping. And they did that just for that one thing, not the protests that are going on right now. It's even worse, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. So is he saying that they disabled like the AirDrop or whatever only for certain phones of protesters? Like, I can't make any sense of what he's talking about. Well, if they did that, that's wrong. See how easy that is? I can denounce things that are bad. Boom. Just like that. I'm kind of wondering why this dude never denounced anti-Semitism earlier, but okay.
The way that protesters, and I asked this question yesterday.
Actually, we have an overlay of that guy,
Yeah.
the banner,
I was
overlay
wondering-
B6, the removal of Xi.
Yeah, right there. I was wondering how these guys were communicating because China has such strict control over media and how people
You were
access
asking
it.
that? Yeah,
I asked it yesterday. They were airdropping stuff to each other. That's how some of this information was getting out. Plus, we know that there's some
Not
people that
anymore.
are tech savvy that can get around some of these rules.
Wow, fascinating. Again, like, I don't even know if anything that they're saying right now is true. Like, they may have completely made up this airdropping thing. For one thing, if Apple doesn't do this or that or capitulate, then they will lose everything. They will lose the Chinese market, which makes up a massive market share. Now, that's not an excuse. They shouldn't have done this. This should have been the thing they took a stand on. I'm just explaining the rationale. Apple likes money. That's what Apple's all about, money. They aren't about leftist ideas. They aren't about loving, dictatorships. They're about money. Fat stacks and lots of them. That's it.
But
it's really not more complicated than that. They want it to be. It's just not.
now you have no ability to do that. Apple is basically saying, "Yeah, I know this is going on, but now you don't have the you don't have the ability to communicate."
No. Parler is a much greater threat
They
than
are,
Xi
yes.
Jinping.
Yes.
Or
Elon
how many
Musk.
Uyghurs have the CEOs of Parler killed?
Oh gosh.
Well, they're getting around
I'd
to
say
it.
Oh, Parler isn't bad because they aren't actually committing genocide. I guess that's the bar now. If you're not actually literally committing a genocide, then you shouldn't be censored. You're not so bad if you're not committing a genocide on people. Okay. That makes complete sense. This logic is absolutely airtight. Love it.
Say upwards of 0.
Yeah. No, you know what? It's a rounding error.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just glad that they stand by what they believe.
Yes.
It just blows me away that people fall for this garbage.
Exactly.
It's Elon Musk, that's
the evil right there, the guy who moved his facilities to Texas. Also, we have, in August 2021, Apple banned the anti-government engravings in China, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Again, are you noticing the pattern here?
Yeah, it's all about money. He's desperately trying to make people believe that Apple loves dictatorships, when in reality, Apple just loves money. That's what it's all about, money.
Always line up on the side of tyranny. Why? Because they can continue to keep a good portion of the population of China subjugated. They benefit. The people of China don't. Hey, Apple benefits. Hey, Meta, Google, they benefit. You don't. When you don't have access to information, when you don't have access to opinions, when you don't have access to educational resources, they benefit at your expense. And that's when you realize that this is no longer a government for the people, by the people, because they seek to benefit companies like Apple. And not just...
This is why we need regulations. Companies will always do what's best for their bottom line. Not what's best for society, not what's best for the country. They'll do what's best for their dollar. And in many cases, they're legally required to do that by the shareholders. If they do something that is financially not beneficial to the shareholders, and rather they try to do something that helps society instead or something, they can be sued by the shareholders for doing that. And in my opinion, that's a flaw in the system that should be remedied. But that's why we need regulation. You know who's trying to get rid of regulation? These guys right here. They talk about small government constantly. They want to erase regulation. They want to erase taxes, make companies more powerful most of the time, except for this one specific time when they think a company could benefit them, so they want it to be bigger and more powerful. Completely ridiculous, like top to bottom. Inconsistent ideology is what we're looking at right now. I want strong regulation, and I want workers to be the benefactors or the beneficiaries of every situation. Not the companies, not the CEOs, but the workers of those companies. These people have been trying to destroy unions for decades. These people have been trying to remove regulations for companies and remove taxes for decades.
Just Apple. Let's just get into the larger problem here. And this is why when people say, who do you think is going to be the Republican candidate? Not that I don't care. It's not nearly as relevant, though, as this consolidation of power with really 5 companies. If you want to be very generous, 10. So let's look at just a handful of companies that control the entire flow of information outside of, recently, Elon Musk, right? So you've got Jeff Bezos at Amazon. You've got Sundar Pichai, I think is how it's pronounced, and Susan Wojcicki, that's Google and YouTube. You have, number 3, you have Zuckerberg, Facebook and Meta. Then you have Tim Cook at, what am I at, number 4 now? Tim Cook at Apple. And then you have Bill Gates, Microsoft. That's 5 people. That's 5 people. Let me ask you, especially if something like Parler is removed from the App Store, God forbid they try and do something like that with a place like Rumble. Okay, if those people decide in unison.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they haven't removed Rumble from the App Store already, because is Rumble even on the App Store? I'm kind of blown away by that.
And in tandem, they say, hey, you know what? We don't like this opinion. We're going to get rid of this person. Like, I don't know, they did with Donald Trump, with Alex Jones. Right, with
They didn't do that. They did remove him from, like, the App Store, for example, or whatever. He was still perfectly free to create his own platform. He doesn't have a right to everybody else's platform, and that's exactly what he did. He created his own platform. Donald Trump, Alex Jones, all the others, they all did this. Create their own platform and flourished. Made a ton of money, both of them. I mean, there are platforms out there that you can use if you're a far-right nutcase without fear of censorship or whatever else. They just want to access the bigger the other platforms, the bigger platforms, because they know that these platforms only have access to like other conservatives in large part. They're just trying to scream about free speech as a method of manipulating the situation to their benefit.
The sitting president, Donald Trump, if they decide that, where are you going to get the information? It's not
Donald Trump's platform, of course. Rumble or Truth Social or, anywhere. Like you can go to his website. Go to his website and look. You can't remove somebody's website, not easily anyways.
not even just a monopoly. It's that these people all work together, and right now you are seeing them work together in real time to try and eliminate their one competitor, Elon Musk. That is ball-retractingly scary. And if you don't believe me, here's
No, this is just a complete misrepresentation of the situation.
Steve Jobs' wife, who, by the way, very fetching. He did well for himself despite being a dick. Lauren Powell.
Steve Jobs was a dick.
Jobs right. Talking about the cultural narrative.
It was pretty obvious to me that we could build, we build out in a very cross-disciplinary way our work in capital investing and policy and philanthropy, and we could do this work forever and ever, and we could have the narrative
so she can do it forever. Children's blood packs.
By someone who has a lot of power, who's completely contrary to us, and we.
Why do they laugh about that? He just made a joke that Steve Jobs is in hell. Why is that funny? Why would anybody cheer for that or laugh at that? How f***ed up and depraved do you have to be to wish that somebody would go to hell? Seriously. This is so wrong.
We could never get to the place where we think we're part of
She's probably
a
an
more
atheist. She doesn't believe
just
it's anywhere.
and equal society. And so it was obvious that if we could be part of the creation of cultural narrative, that would enhance and amplify all the work that we're doing.
Which is Hillary Clinton talked about today, is telling the story, getting the content out there.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these are.
I'm not seeing the point they're trying to get at here. I don't understand.
That Kamala Harris is contributing nothing, like every conversation.
We want to inspire the kind of stories
Still has her
that
pearls,
we'd like
though.
to see told.
Do you ever see you buying something bigger, like the New York Times, for example?
Why are they taking shots at people constantly? I just don't get their line of logic. Can't Kamala Harris, that's how her name is pronounced by the by, Kamala. Can't Kamala Harris just hang out and let somebody else have their turn at talking? I'm sure she got up there and spoke for a little while too.
Is it for sale?
It could be for you.
Oh, good. Is it for sale? By the way, she's a stakeholder, Apple, Disney, The Atlantic, just to be clear. Hey, hold on a second. If you can create narratives, I thought your job was to build phones and like computers that are somewhat see-through that kind of look like a messenger bag. Remember, those were fun.
Yeah. But that's no, they said create.
Dude, what are they even talking about? I don't understand any of this. I feel like I'm so lost right now.
Narrative is by getting the story out. No. You want a story out. That's it.
And suppress the stories you don't like.
Right, exactly. Not everybody's story, not the truth, not what's actually going on in places like China. You want your story out so that it doesn't mess.
No, they don't want a very specific story out. Apple, Disney, any of them. They don't want a specific story out. They want people to not attack others, not hate others for no reason. That would be fantastic. That's what it's all about. Just don't hate people for no reason. And honestly, you can say just about anything you want, unless it's misinformation or disinformation.
That's with your
and Steve Jobs definitely didn't create the Good Father app.
No, he did not. He would never let that in the store.
No.
He was also about.
Like, why do they keep picking on Steve Jobs? Like, who cares about what Steve Jobs did or who he was or whatever else? Dude's dead. Can't you just leave him be?
Though he was a stand-in for the good son.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh.
Tiny hands. So here's the thing. Apple and Google, by the way,
Easy to let go of.
they control 95% of the app market.
Wow.
95%. You just heard from her point of view how important it is to create these cultural shifts, to control the narrative.
That might be true. They may control that percentage of the app market. I'm not really sure. But either way, they do control a high percentage. Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's their right to do whatever they want with their app store. There are limits, and if those limits are crossed, the courts will step in and self-correct, I'm sure. And they have gone through a lot of lawsuits, like with Fortnite not too long ago. They went through some lawsuits and stuff. I'm almost never on the side of corporations, generally speaking, when it comes down to it. But there are some lines that I think shouldn't be crossed, and I think corporations should have some rights, generally speaking, to what they are allowed to regulate and control and stuff. So we'll see if a lawsuit comes against Apple at any point to change what they're allowed to do or what they're allowed to regulate or if they should be broken up or whatever else. We'll see.
She has a stake in Apple, Disney, The Atlantic. 95% of the app store, or app market, sorry, is Apple and Google. When we get to social media, big tech, 71% of people access their news from social media.
Wow.
And by the way, I'm pretty sure
that's a problem, honestly.
That is a low ball.
That's probably a low ball number, but this isn't like being able to play.
Don't trust anything you see on Steven Crowder's thing. I don't even know if any of this is true. Automatically doubt and look up every single thing you hear from Steven Crowder's show. But why distrust stuff constantly that comes out of scientific polls and scientific organizations? Why is he so obsessed with distrusting things like this? Just blows me away.
Play a game on your phone. That's not what we're talking about. Access to information is controlled by 2 companies right now. That's it.
I'm at 5.
Well, Google and these guys, 95%
on the App Store, yes.
On the App Store,
Yeah.
71% get it from it. That's massive.
No, 71% get from social media.
Right.
95%
controlled by them.
Of the app market is controlled by 2 companies.
That's what I'm saying.
By 2 companies who, by the way, we know beyond any shadow of a doubt are complicit with this corrupt government. It's not a conspiracy
super
theory.
liberal. Yeah.
They're not complicit with this corrupt government. They have worked with the government to prevent Russian disinformation campaigns or Chinese disinformation campaigns. These people just desperately want to create a ridiculous false narrative where they are the victims of the situation, of course.
All of the references are available at loudwithcrowder.com. Again, like I said, we really do try and seek truth, and we try and make it so that you can seek truth. Go and
No. In no way, shape, or form do they do that.
check out the references. Go and read these reports. They're very long. They're a dry read. That's why we put them in this format in the show, because I know that many of you can't be bothered because I hate having to read them. Now,
good for you, though.
Dude is getting emotional over reading.
These companies, while we also talk about this, the great wealth transfer, you know, Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, gets the support of a lot of these people in big tech, they want you to hate each other, the top 1%. Well, guess what? A lot of business owners, small business owners, they're in that top 1%. Right? When you're talking about this top marginal tax rate, joint household income, $400,000 according to this administration, which just so happens to be the exact salary of the White House. On the flip side, let's talk about the wealth transfer from the middle class, because
okay, I kind of missed what that little bait and switch he did there, but I'm going to trust that it was complete nonsense.
Some old school conservatives in the baby boom generation maybe aren't aware of what has been happening right now. It is true. There's been a robbing of the middle class and upper middle class, and I would even say upper middle class. Everyone from the lower middle class to making low to mid six figures, that money is being transferred to 5 people, 5 billionaires. The top 5 billionaires during the pandemic saw their wealth grow by a total of 101.
Don't trust a single source out of this TV show. Again, don't trust any of it. Look it up yourself. However, there has been a large wealth transfer from the lower middle classes to the upper class like that. That is correct. I don't know if these numbers are right that he's presenting, but the idea is right anyways.
$1 billion.
That's 26%.
Yes.
Wow.
26% increase in their wealth.
Bezos and Zuckerberg alone, their combined wealth increased $76 billion. And by the way, these 5 companies that I just mentioned to you, together, guess how much they're worth?
$1 trillion?
$6.3 trillion.
Wow.
Like Apple alone is worth $2 trillion, I think. They just passed the $1 trillion mark not too long ago, and now they're at $2.2 trillion, I think.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, 2.276. That's actually correct. 2.2 trillion.
You are not being subjugated by your government. Your government is enforcing the whims of these companies.
Yeah.
In what way is the government enforcing the whims of these companies? He has not explained that. That's not actually happening. The government has worked with some of these companies to prevent Russian disinformation campaigns and Chinese ones and, you know, any other country that considers themselves to be an enemy of America. They're coming in and trying to manipulate the system because they smell blood in the water. They see weakness. So they're coming in and trying to exploit that weakness, and it's worked up to now. So the U.S. government comes in and tries to prevent that weakness from being a weakness anymore, naturally. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. But he's going to complain about it and cry and scream and pretend that he's a victim, of course.
And here's something else that's pretty important. You saw Washington Post praising Apple for maybe removing Elon Musk's Twitter. That's how they try and label it now from the App Store. You saw a bunch of media outlets praising this. You saw Don Lemon on the Failing Morning Show talking about how this was a good
Failing morning show
thing. Well, here's another wrinkle. Who advertises? When they say, oh, look, the advertisers are pulling off Twitter. Okay.
Everybody advertises.
I would like to advertise on Twitter. This happened, remember, with Google and YouTube. They wouldn't let us advertise anything, and they wouldn't let advertisers advertise on their show. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. I'm on both sides. I would like to have these people advertise on my show. I know there are a lot of advertisers who would like to advertise on my show. You won't let them, and you won't let me advertise on their programming. What is going on? They're like, we can't tell you that. And I asked why. They said, because you're a stranger.
What? What is he talking about? I don't understand. He's a stranger?
So who runs the advertising? They're polling. Well, 6 companies. 6 corporations control 90% of media outlets. What do you have? You have Comcast, NBC Universal. You have Viacom. You have CBS, which is CBS Paramount. I'm trying to remember. You have ABC, Disney. Then you have AT&T and you have News Corp. So 6 corporations. NBC Universal, ABC, Disney, CBS, Viacom, AT&T, News Corp. And hey, we all know that these people will deplatform one person. So what you get to say is, look, advertisers are pulling off of these platforms because it's 6 companies who decide to work with you, because then you give them favorable advertising splits. You give them, you favor them.
Is he complaining about capitalism right now? Is that his big gripe? He doesn't like capitalism? I mean, there are ways to fix this. I'm just saying, I think that Soviet Russia came up with ways to prevent this kind of egregious thing that he seems to dislike so much. I'm not saying we should go with that. I'm just saying there are organizations and governments and companies out there that have found solutions to this. It's kind of weird that he's complaining about such a thing, but okay.
As it relates to advertising, period. We've seen this on YouTube, for example. Remember Vox with the Vox Apocalypse? What no one really told you is that Vox was working with NBC, and Vox was producing a show, co-producing a show with YouTube, who then decided that we were going to be demonetized because Vox wanted us to be demonetized. They control the advertising dollars. They control the app store. And this administration has...
Oh, that's right. It's because he was using slurs for gay people on his clothing or something like that, right? Isn't that what it was? That's hate speech. I know that this dude doesn't like the term hate speech, but when you use slurs against people to denigrate and hate people, that's hate speech. And advertisers don't like being associated with that, so it makes complete sense that people would want to shut it down. That's why they pulled advertising with this guy, or monetization or whatever, with Steven Crowder. He acts like he's a victim when he was the one victimizing other people. It's a standard tactic of hate mongers. It has been since the dawn of time. The U.S. Constitution is built on one simple core principle. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. You're free to swing your fist anywhere you want, but right here. You can't swing it here, because if you did, it would be a violation of my rights, not you exercising yours, a violation of mine. So when the government steps in and prevents you from swinging your fist right here at my face, you start screaming that your rights are being violated. That is what this guy is doing, and that's what hate mongers have done since the dawn of time. Scream they're being persecuted because they're not allowed to persecute others. I simply don't buy it. It's the oldest trick in the book, and I don't know how anybody doesn't see right through it at this point. But I'll tell you what, that's basically the end of the video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see more stuff from Steven Crowder in the comments. Dude is absolutely ridiculous from top to bottom, but I am deeply entertained by it.